Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thank you so much. God evening to you, Gerald. Thank you so much for joining in. Hi, Luna. We're gathered together here in the name of God. Said another way, we're gathered together here in the name of love. Thanks to a very beautiful, humble, yet powerful teacher and helper named Bruno Groening. And in the name of Bruno Groening, I welcome everyone here. And I wish everyone a great time together. So what I'm starting to realize that, the spiritual path is actually a path. That it's something we need to walk moment by moment. Many teachers talk about something such as, use different words, enlightenment, nirvana, moksha, entering the kingdom of God. And Bruno Groening used similar words. He used the word salvation. Maybe a secondhand account describes him using the phrase entering fully into God, full redemption. The word he seemed to use mostly was salvation, to mean a freedom from all evil. And so I find myself in the humble position of someone who hasn't experienced that, teaching about that and talking about that. So hopefully, as someone who has not experienced a complete release from evil, I do a good job, and I lean on Bruno Groening and his teachings. And I consider him to be someone who has experienced that and who can lead people in that direction. I got interested in spirituality when I was kind of at a young age. And at a certain point, I just had this attitude that spirituality was kind of a do-it-yourself project, that I would just read some books and just meditate, and that would be that. But then I started to come across this idea of a spiritual teacher or a spiritual helper, and the need to have a reliable guide, really. Someone to guide and support you. Support the person on that path. And I didn't take it quite seriously for a while, but at a certain point, I began to take it very seriously. When I started to notice that different traditions, and Bruno Groening spoke of this himself, really emphasizing the need for that. And the further I go on the path, the clearer I am that until I am to that place where I'm free from all evil, until I'm to the place where I can accurately declare I am stronger than evil, then I need a helper or friend who is stronger than evil, who can guide me on my way. Just talking with a dear friend of mine who is very, very devoted to the traditional Hindu path of spiritual awakening and enlightenment. It was very illuminating. In that tradition, it's just considered absolutely essential, pretty much impossible to experience. In Hinduism, they call it moksha, meaning liberation, or mukti, freedom. it's really not possible to experience that on your own. That it's absolutely not a do-it-yourself project. You really need someone. If that's your goal, you really need to find someone who has achieved that goal, who can help you. And I find, it's not something Bruno talked about all the time, but every now and then he would just drop little hints that made it very clear that it's absolutely necessary to have a spiritual guide or friend. Here's a quote of Bruno's. When man, is too weak, he falls to the evil, falls down, and then he can't go the path leading upwards. He lacks energy. He stumbles and falls right into evil's arms, and he is then delivered to the evil. If there is no rescuing, no helping hand that tears him away, he is lost for quite some time. So I consider Bruno Groening, and not just consider, in my experience, he is a helping hand that can really lead one. Guide a person, walk beside a person. Now, I don't know about other countries, but here in the United States, we're very independent. We value independence and self-sufficiency, which the capacity to take care of things and to have strength is certainly has its advantages in life. However, on the spiritual path, it can be a disadvantage. What's called for in Bruno's teachings, and you can find places where it shows up in the written record we have of Christ's teachings, is the need for humility. This idea that we need God. That our life purpose, we all have specific life purposes depending on who we are and what we're here to do, but that we all share a common underlying life purpose: to rely on God, to grow closer to God, to develop spiritually. So let's spend a little time dropping into silence, taking in this divine life energy, asking Bruno Groening's help, or Christ, or a teacher or helper whom you trust to really help you take in this good energy. It's very simple. You separate yourself from all your burdens and then observe your body having the will and intention to take in this good energy. So here's something that Bruno Groening said. For you see, whoever goes on asserting that this or that is impossible limits themselves and can never receive the grace of divine help. That's page 132 of the book Powers of the Spirit. Bruno Groening, I'll have to paraphrase it, but in essence, he said that hopelessness blocks the divine energy. And here he's pointing out that maybe one step above hopelessness is a kind of like the opposite of faith. Firm declaration that something is impossible. Firm declaration that God is somehow limited. Whereas Bruno Groening called us to the awareness and the trust that God is limitless. Because it's cool to say, well, nothing is incurable, nothing is impossible for God. But then it gets even cooler. I never thought I'd say cool and cooler in one of these meetings. To then reflect on what is that limitless power? What is God? What does it mean to be limitless? Because it's not just nothing is incurable, nothing is impossible, but for God, these things are true. That there is a reality for which nothing is incurable and nothing is impossible. And then to reflect on that reality. To reflect on that which is limitless. It's pretty cool. It's one thing to say infinite, like, oh, God is infinite, but like to feel into infinity, or to feel into limitlessness, to feel into the reality of God as that, as limitless. You'll see, I read a beautiful quote today of Bruno's. See if I can find it. Please bear with me one moment. What you don't see, you feel, which is why you received several senses in your body. But you must know them, you must use them. So Bruno Groening was quite adamant that there was a reality beyond our senses. And that there are some things that we have this sense of being able to feel the divine energy. Said another way, to feel the presence of God. But he pointed out that in some people that has gone asleep. That was the case for me. I didn't really feel anything the first, I don't know how many times it took before I actually started to feel the divine energy and feel the divine presence. In one of Bruno's speeches, he spoke about that. I'm going to read. One moment. Bruno said, because humans never listen to what is inside them, because human beings have come away from the true divine guidance. They pay no attention to themselves, to their bodies. They did not listen to what was inside them, and also did not follow their feeling, and also did not live in the will of God. And here's why. And so they came completely away from the true divine guidance, and then they only lived in the belief. It's quite satisfactory the way our parents, our forebears, celebrated these festivals, fixed so hard and fast, without ever giving it a thought, without ever being at all conscious of it. And so here he was talking about how to celebrate Christmas, but he's also talking about how to live. Meaning, human beings have come away from following the will of God, following that inner feeling, that inner guidance of what to do and how to live. And instead, just live out of habit, live out of doing things the way that their parents did and the way their forebears did. Mhm. Hey, Anisha, welcome back. So let's spend a little time and listen inside ourselves, to look inside and listen inside and feel inside. So Bruno Groening pointed out, and a warm welcome, we've had a couple new people join in. Bruno Groening pointed out how important it is how we listen. Why? Well, if we take a thought in, Bruno Groening said, if you take a thought in, you're going to act on it. Said another way, if you listen to what I say and believe it to be true without checking inside yourself, it might be true or false. But if you take it in and you believe it to be true, then you're going to act on it. This is not just true for, obviously for me, but for everyone and everything. All day long, people are saying things. All day long, especially with the internet, we're reading things. We're hearing things. Wouldn't it be nice if everything was true? If all spoken and written word were true? And wouldn't it be even nicer if all spoken and written spiritual things were true? But they're just not. At the beginning of my spiritual journey, if something was quote spiritual, then it was true. I just believed everything I read. But then I started to notice there were contradictions. And then at a certain point, I woke up and grew up a little bit, and realized some discernment is needed, but I didn't know what that was or how to do it. Then I found Bruno Groening's teaching, and Bruno is very firm on this, that all of our problems stem from listening to other people. Why is that a problem? Well, it wouldn't be a problem if other people were completely free of evil and just complete sources of truth. But they're not. So what's needed moment by moment is to listen, not just with our ears, but listen with this additional sense that Bruno spoke of, this sensing of the divine, of energy, of goodness, of truth. And that needs to happen inside out. I know there are a lot of people who come to this channel and respect me and trust me, and I really appreciate that. And I'm a very fallible human. I promise. Very fallible human. So again, I appreciate that respect and trust, and you still need to listen inside. I'm very devoted to Bruno. I'm very devoted to accurately presenting his teachings. And that doesn't give you a get out of jail free card. You still need to listen deeply from within. And to practice that in all conversation, in all reading, in all YouTube listening. Even if a book is spiritual. Even if it's something you've trusted in the past. Bruno said something very interesting about the Bible, which I found very helpful, not just in understanding the Bible, but in understanding how to listen. Bruno Groening said, this is from Powers of the Spirit, page 166. Read the Bible often and calmly, but do not stay stuck on the individual words themselves. Read between the lines. Without any inner reserve, allow the meaning of the text to work on you, and you will suddenly know what it was like back then, what Jesus wanted to make clear with his parables, and still wants to make clear today. The word that has been handed down to us, all on its own, is simply empty. But what one becomes aware of in oneself, by means of it, is alive. So that was really helpful to me today. I was reading one of Bruno's speeches, and maybe I was a little tired, or maybe my mind just wasn't focused. But I wasn't, normally when I read one of Bruno's speeches, I really try and first intellectually understand it. But what I found is as I read it, I begin to really feel the divine presence. Very strongly, actually. I said, oh, this is what Bruno is talking about. Intellectual understanding is nice, but really what we're after is well, I'll speak for myself, but I'm after is spiritual awakening and spiritual growth. And feeling that sense of connection to the divine. That's what the words are pointing towards. Hopefully the words are a map pointing us in the right direction, maybe more like a compass. So let's reflect on that a little bit. This need to listen from the inside out, the need to listen to ourselves, listen to our bodies, listen to feeling. Very specifically, listen to the feeling of our conscience, our soul, what Bruno called the natural human instinct, sometimes the divine instinct, to listen to that. Bruno Groening said, "My battle is with evil, my life is God." And at first I thought, wow, that's really amazing that Bruno sort of lived that way and saw his life that way. But actually, I believe that's true for all of us. That our life is God. Said another way, that our life needs to be all about God. That doesn't mean, spending all day in church just reading religious books, but about being connected to and guided by God. What about the fight part? My fight is with evil, Bruno Groening said. Well, my understanding is that all of us struggle with evil every day. Maybe not every moment of every day, but every day. That very specifically, evil's very much at work on this planet. And with negative thoughts and negative energy and a certain kind of negative feelings, trying to pull us off the good path, literally trying to control us. And so the good news is that in order to fight this fight, we need to connect to God. And that's good news because it feels really good to be connected to God. The challenging news is that it's a daily struggle. That doesn't mean that every moment of every day or every day is going to feel like a struggle, but that it is an ongoing, that evil isn't going to let up on the struggle. Hence, we need to not let up on the struggle. Day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, moment by moment, striving to stay connected to God. And I fall short every day. Yet I'm striving almost every day. And so I believe that, and it's my understanding that that's what Bruno called us to. In fact, here's a quote of Bruno. "A religious creed or confession is only worth something when it is honestly meant and put into practice in every situation." And I shared, I shared a little bit about the beginning of my spiritual journey, and that was one of my problems. Is I was reading all these different books and all these different things, and it was kind of hard to focus. But now Bruno makes it really simple. Have faith and trust. Observe your thoughts. Love God. Serve God. That Bruno is available to help. That we're not alone. That Bruno is with us and God is with us. Very simple. Very straightforward. And then the harder part is for us to practice them one day at a time. One moment at a time. So I'd like to thank everyone who joined in today. Welcome back, Anisha. Going to lead us out with a prayer. Beloved Source, beloved God, our dear friend Bruno, Christ, please help us to discern and follow the divine feeling, the divine guidance. Please help us to focus on God and be mindful of and wary of evil, of that which is not good. Please help us to realize and understand what is most important and focus on that. Please help us to listen from the inside out, to really learn to discern, to learn to listen, not just with our ears, but our conscience, our soul. Please, for everyone who joined this video broadcast, everyone who will watch it, please, for this channel and all related activities, for everyone sharing the work of Bruno Groening, for all those striving for the good, for ourselves, the great turnaround, back to nature, back to God, back to the belief in the goodness in human beings. Please help us to lean on God and be mindful of the evil force. Let's tune in and ask for any specific situations, handing away any burdens. Let's give away the idea of impossible. I'd like to thank everyone who joined in today. I feel like there's maybe one more thing to say. We'll see. There's many, many complex books about spirituality, and that they are what they are. But what if it comes down to something really simple, like learning how to discern what's right and what's not right, moment by moment? What does God want us to do in this moment? And to follow that. I wish everyone a beautiful, beautiful day. Take care. Big love.